council, if it elects to be included in communications with a contracted consultant, has the right to make that request.
And you know, Randy, we had a conversation probably about 10 years ago when you were applying for the position of solicitor, and you said that it is the mayor who is in charge of all the contractual arrangements with any professions, and the mayor is the one who goes over all the contractual terms. Now that's changed?
Mayor, I don't remember what we discussed 10 years ago, if anything.
Well, I do. And that was the reason why council didn't want you to be the solicitor that night, because they felt that, you know, they didn't want myself to have that power to be able to.
What was that?
Please stay on point.
I've said
Who they want council?
you're the chief executive officer of the municipality. You still are the chief executive officer of the municipality. This is an issue dealing with a contracted consultant relative to a matter of great public interest, which is the landfill.
So any conversations that I have with Mr. Dye, I will have them with you, Mr. Solicitor, so that we can make sure that there's nothing that is said or nothing
There's a
that is
motion
done
before council.
that
And I second it.
doesn't go AWOL.
Do we vote on it?
Go ahead and vote. Do a roll call vote.
Yes, Mr. Dilch,
Yes.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Ms. Sparks,
Yes.
Mayor Benesia.
No. No, Randy, what is the penalty phase then if I happen to have a conversation with any given professional about any given subject? Okay?
Well-
Now, what's the penalty phase?
Mr. Dye,
Criminal charges?
I see Mr. Dye is in the meeting, and I don't think we need to have this level of acrimony. I think you're all trying to get to the same point, which is closure of this landfill. And you know, I think there's a simple way to do it. You do it in a cooperative fashion. That's what you need to do.
Mr. Dye, do you have, Randy, you want to let him into this meeting, please?
He is here. He
Okay,
has.
Mr. Dye, I'd like to get some comment or input. I mean, we've had conversations over the past. I mean, why don't you give some generalization of the comments or the inquiries of what we have discussed?
Since the last council meeting, Mayor?
Just in general, like with our conversations that we're having with the landfill, I mean, what is your thoughts as to what we're doing here?
Well, I mean, our conversations since the last meeting have all been focused on getting the updates from where we are with the scope of work that needs to be done and the availability of grant funding with HDSRF. That's what I've been working on that. I had a meeting with the Office of Brownfields that manages the funding. As I told you, I hope to have a report in writing also answering Ms. Owens' questions about what would all be eligible from the past and current and what the current position of the office is on the availability of the grant funds. So my plan is to have that report for council at the end of this week. I was trying to get it done this week because I know you had a meeting next week. I wasn't aware there was a meeting tonight until you called me today and asked me to hop on here.
Yes. So hopefully we're going to be able to move forward and be able to have some of this grant covered. I know that you did discuss something with me today pertaining to topographical maps that you have discovered, which could save a considerable amount of cost.
Yeah, we found some hard copies of old topo maps, and the surveyors, engineers, my in-house guys are looking at those right now at a minimum they should assist Freilinger if they're the ones that we use in minimizing the scope of any, they probably would just go out and grab some control points on the topography to verify it's still, somewhat accurate or accurate enough to do the closure plan, stormwater work.
Okay, so we're going to have this on the agenda for our next meeting, which should be in March. Mr. Moore, would you be sure, put in your notes that this is going to be on the agenda for the next meeting? Mr. Dye will be joining us with his report about what he has found out, so that we can have a better understanding and how we can make our next decision to move forward with this accordingly.
Mr. Dye, do you have the email addresses of all council?
Good evening, Mr. Dilch. I believe I do. I think I emailed all council in the beginning of the year when I was contacted at first, and to give an update. So I believe so.
Thank you,
I'll check with Judd and make sure I have them all.
thank you. Okay, if there's nothing further about this landfill conversation, let's move down to new business. Thank you, Mr. Guy, for coming in tonight, and we will be in touch to bring you into our next meeting. Ms. Blumenthal has been discussing this volunteer fire program. Once again, she's not able to attend with us tonight, so we're going to just table this until our next meeting. Mr. Moore, please be sure that this is going to be discussed for our next meeting, okay? Also, we have the rabies clinic, and I know that there was a discussion about this in the past. I don't believe that we actually, in fact, came up with a date as to when we should have it. But quite frankly, I think it's a good idea. We really should have this rabies clinic to conduct. And everybody will be required to take the proper safety protocols with their mask, their social distance, so on, so that way they will ensure the safety of everyone in our community that are bringing their pet with them. Does council, in fact, actually have a date? Because I think normally we do this somewhere on or about mid to end March, maybe April. I know that the state has given some leeway with the extension of the date because of the pandemic situation, but I'm inclined to think that, we should move forward with it and just simply pick a date when we're going to do it.
My question to you, Mr. Mayor, is who will we get to work it?
What we have done in the past is we have had our employees that do it. I believe Tony Tumman has done it in the past. We have had the city clerk. We have had Teresa do it. Yes, and we've had one of the members of the Public Works Department be there because they have to set up the tables, open up the building, so on and so on. So, I mean, I think if we have 3 people to be able to administer it, that probably should be able to suffice. Granted, we are all working under very strained conditions, and I believe that this pandemic has really just about kicked everybody's butt. We've all about had enough of it, but we have to continue to deal with it. So with that being said, does anybody have any ideas about a date that they want to pick?
So that being said, because we are in a pandemic, do you not think it is a better decision to find out who would be working this and then go on with the date? Because we need to be able to find 3 people that are willing to work.
Well, I can tell you right now, I'm pretty sure that we have 2. Probably, I'm sure someone from the Public Works Department would do it. Mr. Moore is raising his hand, he'll do it. And I've known that Ms. Tony Tumman has done it for several years. So that would be 3 people that I'm pretty sure that we can count on, or 4 that will be able to do it.
But did you speak to them and see if they're willing to work it? Because I have heard that they're not willing to work it because of the COVID.
I never thought of this until just this moment. What if we were to shift our service over to another municipality and do a shared service with them?
I'm not sure what that deal, I mean, it doesn't seem like a bad idea, but do you know another municipality close that's still doing it?
Randy, what's your idea about Mays Landing? What are they doing? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Mr. Hazer, you're on the phone conference here with us. What's Weymouth doing this year for an event? Mayor Hazer, are you able to hear, or are you muted? Are you doing a rabies clinic this year? And if you are, do you have a date that's been picked out?
No, we've probably going to decide not to have it. But if it changes, I would let you know. Our last conversation was it was going to be tough to get anybody to come out and help work it.
And you didn't have it last year either, correct? Because that's the beginning of the pandemic and everything was shut down at that point. So
did not have it
Oh.
last year. And
Yeah,
in all probability, it's not, hasn't been voted on, but I don't think we're gonna do it. But like I said, if it changes and, we could do something together, be happy to try it. But I'll let you know.
well, we have, what are these names again? We have, possibly Tony, we have Judd, and who's the third one that I said?
Public Works.
Public Works, that's three. I kind of feel that that would most likely be sufficient enough. I will reach out to the three of them to ask them if they're willing to do it. And with that being said, if they do agree that they would do it, is, council and the positions want to pick a tentative date, not a set date, but a tentative date. My recommendation would be to have it in the spring, like April.
We should ask some veterinarians of some potential times that they have, and then you gotta work around them.
Do we still have, our local resident in town, Mr. Banks, Dr. Banks?
We paid him in the past, but I don't know him. I mean, I don't know. I have to call him.
I think that we used him the year before last year. Last year we didn't have the event, and then this year, you know, we will have to reach out to him. But we should, and I will reach out to the, Judd, you have his, information? Mr. Banks, get it for me so that I can give him a call, or if you wanna call him, that's fine too.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Mrs. Seelman has, reached out to him. And
Yes,
she has, and, actually, she got a reply, but I honestly can't remember what she said now. So I would ask her first, because I know she got a reply the day I asked her another question.
well, I know everybody's very concerned about it, and I mean, truthfully, we're all still kind of living our lives a little bit differently, but I mean, we still go food shop, we still go to Walmart, we still go to, CVS, we pick up our prescriptions for those who need them. I mean, we're still all going out and about doing things. We just can't simply isolate ourselves in our houses permanently forever until this pandemic goes away, because it's liable to never go away. And then what are we gonna do?
I mean, I understand your point where you're coming from with that, but you're asking our employees to take an additional risk. So we need to check with our employees first.
And that's what I said, I'm going to reach out to them to ask them if they would like to, but nonetheless, if I'm going to be asking them, I think council, it would be in the best interest to at least say, we are considering having it on this date. We may pick it, and they're liable to say yes, they'll do it, but they're not gonna be available that date. And then what do we accomplish? Can we at least just somewhat pick a date when you think it would be best? I myself personally think we should do it in mid-April. The weather's breaking, it's not so bitter cold out at that point, and, you know, it's better to do it then than to do it now, like in March. We could even do it in May. But I think we should pick a tentative date. I wouldn't pick it, May's not necessarily good because you have Mother's Day that's coming up then, and
Bugs.
bugs are starting to come out. The end of April would probably be a better time before the gnats and mosquitoes and everything else starts coming out.
I make a motion to table the rabies clinic until we find out from the employees willing to work for it. Do I have a second?
Hearing none.
Second.
Roll call on this one here, please.
Yes, Mr. Dilch,
You're on mute.
Just as a point of technicality, somebody's got to reach out to the vet and make sure that he's willing to work on a day too. Did someone hear that?
We
Yes.
heard that, but we're doing a roll call vote if we're gonna do the rabies clinic or not.
There's a motion.
No, my motion was that we will table the discussion and go to the next meeting, so you have a chance to reach out to the employees and check with the vet to make sure that they're willing to do that and he's willing to do that.
Okay.
So really next week, really.
We'll table that, right?
Well, you have
It's
to
a
vote.
motion.
You know what? I'm gonna make this simple. I'll make a motion to, table. Is there and there's a second, so all in favor?
There's already a motion.
We
There's
already
already
have a
motion.
motion.
There's a motion and there's a second by Mr. Olson. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. Moving down to the next item here. We have the Amend CARES Act. I know that we have been working on this here. Once again, I believe Ms. Blumenthal has been working on it and she's not here to be able to discuss this. So therefore, there's no sense in talking about something that we don't have enough information on. So we'll table this one as well until our next meeting. Jeff, be sure that that's tabled and that's put on our next agenda, okay?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Moore doesn't have details on this?
It's Mrs. Blumenthal that's been handling the this application. Judd, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's kind of like both worked on it. You did initial thing. She did some review. We found some additional ways of how we can recoup more money. And she wanted to discuss this on the agenda, but as of late this afternoon, she had an emergency situation and came up, so she's not able to discuss it. The application's already been sent out there, correct? It's done? Okay. Do you want to discuss what we did then? I guess you probably have knowledge of it?
Want me to?
Sure.
Council, this started back in, we started to get notices about the CARES grant back in October, I think middle of October, so about some details. And so I took it upon myself to start the process, and it was lengthy and cumbersome to say the least. The state was asking for a lot of detail. Fortunately, Teresa, who was working at the time with Jeff Courneau, emergency management, thought that perhaps the FEMA was going to have some money available. And that is true because that happened in another nearby town. But in the meantime, this CARES money came out from the state. And so fortunately, Teresa did a great job in tracking all the information.
But then we're gonna get feedback. And then I can pick it up here, and pick it up here.
Can somebody
Ms.
please
Parks,
mute?
you're not on mute.
Yes, she is.
Go ahead, Judd.
Okay. So, as
Sorry,
far
it
as
was medication time.
Right, what the CARES grant called for is primarily any equipment that was used to combat the COVID, and also to give some money also to the times that we were closed, or anyone who had the virus and was out. So when I put it together, with Teresa, we just put in for approximately, I think it was like $5,000 as far as the equipment, the bioblaster, the gloves, the mask, everything that we had to do. And $1,300 of that was for Teresa's time, because you could get paid for an employee who went around and cleaned, even though they were already getting paid on work time. So we put that in, and we also put in for the time that the personal touch cleaning people did the spraying. We were approved right away for about $3,500, and got an email on that saying that we were approved, but we needed more detail on a couple of other things. Mr. Venezia, Mayor Venezia, wanted to go over the grant some more and make sure that we were covering all the bases. And I was kind of like flatline, because I had to do this in other municipalities, and I just had my fill of it. I took everything that we could do and make it work. So the mayor got Jennifer involved, and she researched it more and was able to come up with a suggestion about the employees and the time that we were closed for a couple of days. It was just maybe 2 or 3 days. I think we were closed actually. And then there was time where, in fact, I covered myself being out with the COVID, and the time of the employees. So the bottom line is that because of their effort, we were able to add another approximately $7,000 to this. So we've been approved for right around $12,000 was coming in. So it was a joint effort. Primarily, Teresa did a lot of hard work on it, and Joe got Jennifer involved. Jen did some work on it, but then Teresa and I had to meet on a Friday. We worked here for about 4 hours to try to put all this information together and back onto the Excel spreadsheet, and had contact with the fella up in Trenton. In the meantime, I've talked to him so much, I feel like I'm a friend of his, and we have a mutual, where we worked as administrators at one time in different towns. So he really was a big help to us, this guy named by Kevin Heidel, and coached me on it, and we got it going and got all the information. Bottom line is about 12,000. But everybody, Jen, Joe, Teresa, myself, was a joint effort.
So we went
Thank you.
from 3,900 to 12,000 something.
About 5,000 or something, because we would have gotten approved for the extra 1,500. They just needed some more receipts.
So I understand that application, some of it was like tricky wording. It's, the state with their infinite wisdom with how they word stuff sometimes. It's like, they almost set you up for failure with the questions that they ask, with the application that you got to fulfill.
Yeah. Well, it was very cumbersome, and they were asking, it came through the Department of Community Affairs, Local Government Services, and they were asking for copies of checks front and back. And that's very tedious and time consuming, and trying to get it through from the bank and all, and what we could do online. I finally ended up telling the guy, look, can't we just submit some reports showing the purchase order number and checks number and that type of thing? And he suggested it also. So the bottom line is we were able to expedite this without really going through all these steps, which I thought was overkill at this time. So that got us going.
How do we get past, Judd? I didn't have this conversation with neither you or Mrs. Blumenthal, but how do we get past the issue of loss of revenue? We lost revenue from the port. How were we ever able to establish just exactly what did we lose? I mean, we have a backlog of tickets that are still waiting to be processed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's revenue that we've lost, so to speak. We paid the judge, we paid the port. We had the port closed for what, 3 months, 4 months before they went back into session again?
We did not receive anything as far as from Ms. Blumenthal on the port revenue per se, but we were able to recoup money from the judge and the prosecutor. So I did put those wages in for about 4 months when the court was closed.
And I was very adamant about that I was sure that we could collect on that, and I'm glad it happened. Thank you. So that is the report with the CARES Act. We are going from approximately $3,900 is what I understand initially, and we're up to 12,000 something, so we did well with this one here.
Well, it was 3,500 we were approved for, but we would have gotten the extra 1,500. We just had to give more information. So really, it was $7,300 was the extra for the labor. Come down to it.
So you're starting to realize that I'll take that buffalo on the back of the nickel and squeeze it until it starts to cry,
Yeah.
Okay.
More buffalo left.
Yep, I'll put that buffalo on a good diet. We have another issue here with Verizon. Mr. Olson, I have a feeling that this is your discussion.
Yeah, so we looked a little more into the Verizon channel. Apparently Verizon will come out and install a $500 piece of hardware for us that would give us the channel, but there's extra equipment we would need to actually run a meeting, microphones and cameras and everything that integrates that material into this Verizon box. And it would be somewhere in the $3,000 to $5,000 range. So as for Zoom, seems to be working pretty well, and we have a bit of a handle on it here. That's what we're recommending going forward, technology committee, to keep using Zoom. So that's it.
Matt, if you could, we have our a new secretary to the planning board. She's a fellow school teacher as well. We are still experiencing difficulty with our meetings. If there's any way how you can catch up with her and just see if there's anything that we can do, but our Zoom meeting is not, it's not able to go well for us. See what you can do to talk to her, if there's anything further that we need to do.
Do you know what her problems are with the Zoom?
I would like for you to talk to her about that. As you know, that's really not my area of expertise. And
Because I don't have any of the Zoom information. You're like,
I think the last time we were not able to get into the city's password, our account, but we couldn't get into the password. That was one of the issues that we had. And then she's using something else now that I think is a free network or something. But the reality is, we're having difficulty with that. If you could you just reach out to her? I'll give you her phone number tomorrow. I'll call you or I'll text it to you, and just simply reach out to her and ask her, what do you think we need to do to further enhance our difficulties?
I don't have a problem calling her, but it sounds like she needs to talk to Judd and get the password for Zoom to me. But I'll definitely call her.
Okay. I would like for you to do that if you have a moment, but it shouldn't take maybe about 5 minutes of your time, and not, if it means that you gotta come over here to City Hall or something, but maybe we need to set up something
Text me your
additionally.
information after the meeting. Let's keep this rolling here.
You got it. You got it. I will send that, I'll text that to you later on tonight when this meeting is adjourned. Moving down the line here, we have ordinances concerning veterans and senior committees. I'm really not sure what that is about. I will tell you that years ago, we did in fact adopt a ordinance to have these, to have this for the purposes of the veterans and the seniors, if they would meet. Unfortunately, both entities at the time made it very clear they were not coming here to this building to be videotaped. They were not going to be videotaped, and therefore they did not want to participate. As many people as I asked, they pretty much gave the same consensus. They didn't want to be videotaped. There was no reason to videotape a meeting that they're trying to do good for the community. Nothing to hide, just simply, they're not members of council, they're not lawyers, they're not anything, and they don't need to be placed under a microscope and for trying to help the community. So therefore, that never just really seemed to move forward. It's sad, but that's just really the reality of it.
So
I don't know what further we need to do with this discussion, but it doesn't really need to be. Maybe at a later time, there could be some interest in it if members of the public do in fact want to get involved. I know that the Veterans Committee, so to speak, not the committee, but the veterans, I believe, to the best of my knowledge, of Estell Manor, going to meet over in Mays Landing now at the VFW there. That is their meeting location, and I believe that they feel that that's fairly adequate enough for what they're doing. If there's anything that they need to report to our town or something, I can assure you that we would be advised as to what they're doing, or if they need our help. The senior thing there, one of the things that blossomed out of that was actually that there was a senior social program that was put into place. Julie, there you go. There's an avenue in which how you can possibly bring that back, get it activated again, how you can make it a safe event so that seniors can attend. What has happened over the years is that there is discussion. There's guest speakers. I can't imagine why that can't still be a discussionable item by Zoom. I believe that most people probably would like to be able to attend, but there was a potluck where people would bring food. The city would supply some food as well. But I don't think that we're allowed by law at this point to be able to do anything like that with food. So people would be coming here. It's a social gathering of seniors that just discuss issues and listen to guest speakers. We probably still could continue this again, Mrs. Sparks. If you want to pick up the ball on that there and figure out what you can do to make that enhanced.
So you're saying they don't want to do it Zoom, they don't want a video?
No, I maybe I missaid it the way I intended. I don't know if they would want to do it by Zoom, is what I think that I said. And
You said that they don't want to be videoed.
I said they don't want to what?
Be videoed.
No, I said that about the veterans and senior citizen commissions. They would be like a commission, just like you have the historic commission. Just like you have a planning board, they would have been a regulatory board, and we have the ability, if we ever decide that that's gonna move forward and happen, we could do it. We have the ordinance in place. What I'm saying is, we have the senior citizen, senior social program that we have had in the past. It's been put on hold because of COVID. If you feel that there's a way of how we can bring this back for the benefit of our seniors, I think that would be a big feather in your hat.